It was just past 6:30 p.m. in the quiet town of Westwood, and golden sunlight painted the streets in amber hues. A light breeze danced through the trees, carrying the scent of summer and distant barbecue smoke. The world looked peaceful on the surface, like a still pond, but beneath it, something deeply unsettling was about to surface. Officer Daniel Briggs had patrolled this neighborhood countless times. He knew the rhythm of its evenings, the click of porch lights turning on, the sound of children laughing before curfew, the dull hum of life winding down. He had stopped his cruiser near a local convenience store to jot down notes on a petty theft earlier that day. Nothing major. Just the usual. Then, through the rearview mirror, he noticed something odd. A small figure emerged from behind a dumpster. A child, barefoot, trembling. Her face was pale, her clothes disheveled and stained. She looked no older than 3, her tiny arms wrapped around her middle as though trying to hold herself together. Briggs didn't hesitate. He stepped out of the cruiser and approached slowly, hands open, voice low and careful. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said gently. "Are you okay?" The little girl looked up at him with wide, glassy eyes that had seen too much for her age. Her lips quivered, her whole body shook like a leaf in the wind. She tried to speak, hesitated, then whispered 3 chilling words. "Mommy's not moving." Briggs' chest tightened instantly. Every instinct inside him screamed emergency. He pressed his radio. "Dispatch, Unit 14. I have a small child reporting an unconscious guardian. Location is Rosewood and 8th. I'm calling for immediate backup and medical assistance. Alert Child Protective Services. Possible abuse. Copy. Copy that, Unit 14. Help is en route." If you're new to Heartline stories, this is what we do, true to life, emotionally powerful stories that remind us of the strength in vulnerability and the heroes hiding in plain sight. If this moment already has your heart racing, tap subscribe and join us as we uncover stories that speak to the soul. Briggs gently wrapped the child in his jacket and lifted her into his arms. "You did the right thing coming to me," he murmured. "You're safe now. What's your name, sweetie?" "Ellie," she whispered, her breath shaky. "Please help Mommy." Briggs could feel her little heart thudding against his chest as he cradled her. She clung to him, fragile and silent, as he followed the path she had likely come from, a nearby alley that snaked between cracked buildings and overgrown fences. He walked quickly, scanning the ground. Bare footprints in the dirt. A candy wrapper. A child's plastic hair clip. A trail of tiny details Ellie had unknowingly left behind. The footprints led him to a worn-down apartment building, peeling paint, broken window blinds, graffiti tags, and a broken buzzer. Apartment 3B. The door was slightly ajar. Briggs unholstered his weapon, keeping Ellie behind his leg. The air inside was thick and heavy. He pushed the door open. The apartment smelled of rot, sour sweat, and stale cigarettes. Flies buzzed around a half-eaten meal on the table. Empty pill bottles were scattered on the kitchen counter. Then he saw her. A woman lay unconscious in the living room, curled on the stained carpet near an overturned chair. She was bruised, pale, and barely breathing. One hand was stretched toward a phone lying broken on the floor. Briggs knelt beside her, checked her pulse, faint but there. He looked around. The place had signs of a struggle. Broken glass. A lamp on the floor. A blood smear on the wall. But there was something else, a locked door at the end of the hallway. He called it in. Adult female found unconscious. Suspected assault and overdose. Immediate medical required. I'm clearing the rest of the apartment. He found a screwdriver in the kitchen and pried the lock. Inside was a small, windowless room. There was a camera mounted in the corner, cables running down to a makeshift recording setup. A stained mattress on the floor. Restraints. A box full of memory cards labeled with dates. Briggs felt bile rise in his throat. This wasn't just drug abuse. This was exploitation. By the time the medics arrived, Briggs had swept the apartment and secured the scene. He handed Ellie off to a social worker but stayed close. Julia, the girl's mother, was taken to the hospital. It would be 2 days before she could even speak. In the meantime, Briggs filed an emergency protection order. And he did something he'd never done before in over 12 years on the force: he applied for temporary foster guardianship. Because something had shifted. Ellie wasn't just another case. She had run through the city barefoot. She had risked everything to find help. She had trusted him with those 3 words. And he wasn't about to let her down. At first, life together was awkward. His apartment was silent, neat, bare. Ellie brought color. Crayons on the kitchen table. Dolls lined up on the couch. She had nightmares, cried in her sleep, clung to him when the doorbell rang. But slowly, inch by inch, she began to laugh. To smile. She made him pancakes one morning, with raw batter, flour everywhere. She started calling him Dan, and eventually, one quiet night, just before bedtime, she asked, "Can I call you Daddy now?" Briggs choked up. He nodded. 6 months passed. Julia, in rehab, worked hard every day. She wrote Ellie letters every week, and Ellie would draw pictures in return. Their bond was rebuilding, slowly, honestly. Briggs never stood in their way. He encouraged it. He wanted what was best for Ellie, even if it meant letting go. The court hearing was heavy with tension. Julia stood up, clean, sober, eyes clear. "I know I've made mistakes," she said, voice shaking. "I lost myself. But I'm trying every day to be someone my daughter can be proud of. I don't want to take her away from Officer Briggs. I want to be in her life again." Briggs looked down at Ellie, sitting beside him in her Sunday dress, holding his hand tightly. The judge turned to her. "Ellie, would you like to say anything?" She stood up on her little feet, looked from her mother to the officer, and said, "Can I have 2 families? One to love me always, and one to keep me safe." The courtroom went silent. The judge nodded, smiling through tears. "Yes, sweetheart. You can. If you've been touched by Ellie's journey, her courage, Julia's redemption, and Dan's quiet heroism, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Heartline Stories. These are the stories that remind us that love, real love, is built through action, not just words. And as for the twist, 2 years later, Julia became a counselor at the same rehab that saved her life. Briggs. He officially adopted Ellie, who now had a mom, a dad, and a story that began with 3 simple words whispered on a city street. "Mommy's not moving." But what Ellie really said was something louder, something the world heard that day. "I matter. Help me." And someone did.